House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte. Thank you very much, sir, for talking to us. A very hectic and busy time, but a lot to get done nonetheless.
Julie, it's great to be with you and your viewers.
Thanks for being with us. You are leading one of the two bills that we're talking about right now that are being considered by the House. Secretary Nielsen will be urging the president today to throw his full support behind your bill and also the compromise bills in the House. Let's talk about your bill.
Julie, first, to be clear, both bills are my bills. Okay. I was the original introducer of both pieces of legislation. One's called Goodlatte number 1 and the other Goodlatte number 2. I'm for both of them, but I'm especially for a bill that gets 218 votes and can move over to the Senate because we've got to address these problems.
Let's talk about the likelihood of getting those votes. Because in the bill, which includes the same 4 pillars President Trump asked for back in February, which failed to pass, the question is, how is this bill you are proposing, or 2 bills that you're proposing, than the bill then, which ultimately failed, any different, and does it prevent the separation of families?
Yes, so Goodlatte number 1, a bill I introduced along with the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, Mike McCall, and Raul Labrador and Martha McSally. It is a strong enforcement bill that also addresses the DACA population. The new bill, that bill never got to 218 votes, so the new bill brought people together from all corners of our conference, and it is a negotiated consensus bill that we're trying to make sure that we can get 218 votes for. That bill does contain provisions that are necessary to address the family separation issue, because even when the president issues the executive order he says he's going to do, there are still court cases and laws that limit the amount of time that children can be kept in a detention facility with their parents who are being charged with the misdemeanor crime of illegally entering the country. So he's going to be faced with the alternative of ultimately letting the whole family go or separating them. And when the family leaves, they go into the interior of the country, they're given a court date, and many, many, many of them never reappear. It's a big problem called catch and release.
Right. So I want to talk about the law that you are describing for those at home that may not understand what you're talking about. This is a law which, in fact, does limit the Trump administration. We're talking about the Flores agreement, correct? Or the Flores settlement. And basically, this was an agreement that was passed back in 1997, which limits the amount of time in which a family, or in this case, children who are not the criminals here, their parents are to be detained. So essentially, that ultimately was made that they could not be held onto or detained for more than 20 days, whether they are accompanied or not accompanied. So what Congress wants is for this Flores agreement to then be overturned, and for an extended period of time to allow for them to go through the judicial process without being separated. Do I have that right?
That's correct. We want these prosecutions to be expedited. In some places, they're occurring in as little as 7 days. But if they are, for example, then turning around and asking for political asylum in the United States, that's a process with a 600,000 case backlog. And so people have to be detained for a longer period of time. This bill will do 2 things. First of all, it will overturn the Flores decision and allow for children to remain with their parents. And secondly, it will provide the funding necessary to have more of these family detention facilities so they can be held near the border and not allowed further into the country until the matter is resolved. If they are found to be lawfully admissible in the United States, then they will be released in the interior. If they're not, they'll be sent back home.
There is probably the biggest outcry of any issue right now in this country, protests all over the country over this. There's also a lot of false information out there that I want to set the record straight on when it comes to why this is happening in the first place. False information such as the White House saying that Democrats are to blame for an existing law which separates these families at the border. The fact is there is no current law which actually mandates charging all border crossers criminally. And the federal law criminalizing improper entry by aliens, in fact, does not require that these families be separated. So there is no law that states that you must separate a father and a mother with their child. Is that correct?
It is not correct in this respect. If they want to retain the children with the parents, they can only do so for a limited period of time based upon court decisions and a 1997 law.
Right.
So that needs to be changed, and we change it in this legislation.
All right. Well, then let's look forward to getting that passed. And, of course, the president expected to sign that executive order any moment. Now, real quick before I let you go, your thoughts, your opinion on this executive order the president is going to sign. Good idea or bad?
I'm pleased that he wants to make sure that children can be with their parents. But as I say, it's only a partial solution, because very quickly they're going to find that they have to go back to the old catch and release, which, by the way, plagued the Obama administration. The Obama administration actually fought that court decision in court. And I went down to the border in McAllen, Texas, to the DHS detention facility, and they had children separated from their parents back then. It's not a new situation.
It was back in 2014. There was an influx of migrants coming in from Central America. The same thing happened in the past administration. But the idea was not to separate parents from their children. Congressman Bob Goodlatte, thank you very much.
Thank you.